Okay. Well, we will call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Commissioner Fournier is with us online this morning, so I'm chairing the meeting. So we will, good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9. The meeting is live streamed, and you can join us online by going to our website. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thanks. Okay, well, I've asked everyone to sign the guest list and also to sign up if you'd like to give public comment. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Deb. Okay, we are going to start off our meeting with public comments, and I'm going to invite Valerie Bundy up from Tides of Change. And if the board members, other board members who've signed up to speak, Sarah, Crystal, and John, can come up, bring additional chairs, or we can start with Valerie and Sarah, and Crystal and John can follow up. Okay.
Thank you, commissioners. Good morning. I'm just coming to provide public comment. I'm Valerie Bundy, the Executive Director of Tides of Change, in regards to your resolution this morning, number 5. Firstly, I just want to say thank you to the commissioners for last week in your meeting, all of the things you said about what our survivors deserve. We work with survivors every day, and we know that the criminal justice system is not designed for them, and it's not. Most survivors don't even go through it, but when they do, they deserve at least minimum respect and dignity. So I appreciate that you've listened to our community and that you're doing what you're able to, and also bringing it to attention so that hopefully what I hope for is that we can really examine what we're doing in Tillamook County for survivors, for our most vulnerable, and we can start making change, right? We want to be a community that's safe and that everyone is thriving. In order to do that, we need to take domestic and sexual violence seriously, and it's 2026. It's time we start doing something. And so I really appreciate that you guys are actually saying something and speaking out on behalf of survivors.
Thank you.
Good morning. So Sarah Ermer, I'm here today in my role as Vice Chair of the Board of Directors at Tides of Change, and I would like to read a statement that the board has approved in the matter of agenda item number 5. Tides of Change is an organization whose mission is to provide hope, safety, and support to those impacted by gender-based violence and to shift cultural norms through advocacy, education, and community collaboration. Our role is to advocate for and to be a voice on behalf of survivors of domestic and sexual violence. Tides of Change recognizes and acknowledges the fear, anger, and grief that many survivors and their families have felt throughout the experience with our local district attorney's office. Survivors' inherent fears of not being believed contribute significantly to domestic and sexual assault being among the most underreported violent crimes. In a small community such as Tillamook County, it does not take long for survivors to learn that they have no voice and will not be believed. We are aware that the criminal justice system has limitations, specifically in domestic and sexual violence-related crimes, and that often our advocates need to support survivors in managing and redefining their expectations of justice. While we understand that the criminal justice system was not built for victims, we do believe that the system has an ethical obligation to treat them with dignity, providing procedural fairness, transparent communication, and meaningful agency throughout the process. Tides of Change staff participated in the investigation into the practices within the Tillamook County District Attorney's Office in hopes that the findings would lead to meaningful change and improvements. However, at this time, there appears to be a lack of accountability in regards to the finding of the investigation. The Tides of Change Board of Directors support the Tillamook County Board of County Commissioners resolution in proclaiming no confidence in Aubrey Olson, District Attorney for Tillamook County. We stand with survivors in our community and will continue to listen, advocate, and seek a fair and equitable justice system. We believe that Tillamook County should be a county where everyone, especially our most vulnerable, are safe and thriving. Thriving communities have a meaningful engagement and collaboration amongst the community partners that is based in respect. In order to have a safe community, we need to hold offenders accountable for their behaviors and believe survivors.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sarah. I'll call Crystal Scott and John Prather. Yep, please come up. Please introduce yourselves and just your name and the area where you live.
My name is Crystal Scott. I live here in Tillamook County. I'm also a board member. I just wanted to give some words of thanks and encouragement through this process. I too understand what it's like to have a thankless job. So first, if I may, to Valerie and her staff, domestic violence thrives in the dark, but your actions bring light and hope. Because of your dedication, survivors have safe places to run and resources to rebuild their lives. Your work is protecting real families in our community. Thank you for standing firmly on the front lines of this fight. Your work has not gone unnoticed. I'd also like to thank the commissioners. True leadership means holding the line when the pressure mounts. By standing firm, you are showing our entire city that abuse will not be tolerated, hidden, or excused. When you face pushback or criticism for your stance, please remember why you started. Remember the survivors who are counting on your strength to build a safer system. Thank you for refusing to back down, everybody. And thank you. Your integrity gives the community immense hope. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Crystal.
Commissioners, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you and to comment on the proposed no confidence resolution, item 5.
Will you please introduce yourself for the record?
My name is John Prather. I am a board member of Tides of Change. I am a strong supporter of our advocates and of positive outcomes for those who are victims of domestic violence. Key in my mind is the word perception and what our clients perceive. The ongoing fight against domestic violence involves a number of institutional puzzle pieces, included our Tides of Change and our advocates, our sheriff and police departments, our medical resources, primarily our sexual assault nurse examiners, and our Tillamook County District Attorney's Office. All of these pieces must work together in order to achieve successful outcomes for our client victims. The most important pieces are the non-institutional pieces of the puzzle. These are the victims of domestic violence. They are typically very afraid, very questioning of the bureaucratic system in front of them, very fragile and worried about what will happen to them. And oftentimes, if they have children, which many of them do, how will their children be impacted by this overall process? They have to ask themselves, do I report this? Will they believe me? How will this affect my children, my relatives? If nothing happens after I report it, will I make my situation worse? Will the abuse continue? Who will know that I reported my situation and nothing happened? Our clients, the victims of domestic violence, cannot be confident in a system in which at least one piece, our district attorney office, appears to them to be broken and unsupported. All too often, the district attorney's office takes the position, at least from the victim's point of view, that there is no case here, or there are not enough facts here, or this is just not a case which the district attorney office will pursue. And what about the perpetrator? Is the lack of any legal action a free pass to continue to commit further acts of domestic violence? I, along with, I believe, our Tides of Change clients, if given the opportunity to vote today, would vote no confidence in the office of the Tillamook County District Attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you both.
Thank you.
I believe we have some comments online. Is that correct, Debbie? Okay. So please go ahead for the person online who signed up to give public comment. Is it a phone number, Debbie?
Yeah.
So will the person at phone number ending with 5365, please go ahead and give your public comment now?
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hearing my comment today. I'm choosing to remain anonymous to protect my child as much as I possibly can. My child was raped, sodomized, and mentally and emotionally abused for the better part of a year by one of the people who should have kept her safe. After these crimes came to light and were investigated by the sheriff's department, my child was victimized again by others whose job it is to keep her safe. These others being the DA and the ADA who was assigned to her case. By these women in the DA's office, she was treated as not a victim, but a person who was in the wrong, as less than. You see, my child was 17 when all of this happened. However, she suffers from autism, developmental delays, and low IQ. At 17, she had the emotional and psychological development of a 10-year-old, still playing with Barbies and Monster High dolls. For the Christmas after her 17th birthday, she asked for a Barbie dream house. When I told the DA and the ADA this, I was informed that this would have no bearing on the case. I went to the school and I signed releases for all of the testing and records to be released to the DA's office. They were never collected. I spoke with her caseworker at the school to testify and verify with the DA that they would speak to the DA about my child. The caseworker was never contacted. When the case was taken to the grand jury, the ADA told us she would only be questioning my child for a few minutes because, and I quote, "This will only take a couple minutes because I have a very important hearing upstairs that I really have to get to." When I tried to talk to the DA about this, I was routed repeatedly to the Victims Center to speak with Christina Vatney. I was allowed to speak with Aubrey Olson only 2 weeks ago. And mind you, we are 9 months into this case. And while I was speaking to her, the only reason I was able to speak to her was because I threatened to give interviews to the newspapers and to the news who have been contacting me. While speaking to her at that time, she made what would be considered roundabout threats towards me, threats housed in information, telling me that she is in control of whether or not I or my child will receive compensation for lodging, lost wages, therapy, etc. And also reminding me that she could still accept a plea deal that would keep this man out of prison. That she would use something as serious as public safety, as serious as my child's safety, as leverage to try and keep me quiet. It's not only criminal, but it's morally reprehensible. The citizens of Tillamook County deserve so much better. My child, everyone's children, deserve better than this. And I would hope that the commission would see fit to vote lost faith in this woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your comments. Okay, that's everyone who signed up for public comment, I believe. Is that correct, Deb? Great. Yes, please, Sheriff Brown. You're muted, Sheriff.
How about that?
Great. Thank you. Good morning.
I apologize for not being there in person. I actually had not necessarily planned on speaking on this, and it's going to be very, very brief, and you'll understand why. I felt it important to give an explanation, as well as kind of a intermediate stance, I guess. There's significant legal proceedings occurring right now, and because of those legal proceedings and being bound by ethics and professionalism, I'm unable to take a hard individual stance on this subject matter. It would be very bad for me to do so. And like I said, it would cross a line and professionally not be a good thing. So I just kind of wanted to give that explanation as why I'm not necessarily jumping on board right now. I do want to say I'm very proud of the commission. I'm very supportive of your decisions and what you are doing. As we just heard with the last testimony, it's heavily impactful to victims, and like I said, I'm highly supportive and appreciative of what you guys are doing and the stance you're taking. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anyone else, Debbie?
Nothing I'm aware of.
Okay. We'll got here late. I don't
I
know.
did want to make a public comment if it's possible.
Sure.
Good morning, I'm April Bailey from Nescoin. I support the Commissioner's resolution of a vote of no confidence in District Attorney Aubrey Olson, as a large percentage of your constituents has lost confidence in the District Attorney's office. The foremost duty of government is justice. Where there's no justice, there is no freedom. Indeed, when justice fails, the strong will be free to victimize the weaker, and no manner of strength can protect one against lawlessness. While the blame for this documented systemic failure begins with evildoers, DA Olson is responsible due to incompetence and unwillingness to pursue justice based on truth, which I believe was her campaign slogan. She also had co-conspirators in her office that she refused to hold accountable. The evidence reveals abusive tactics toward their partners in law enforcement and victims advocates, and even, as we heard, victims. And it created an environment of fear, resulting in continued unmitigated criminality and coercive silence. As the commissioners take these actions, I do make two requests. This is the second time in 6 months that the county commissioners have taken action regarding a separate elected office. In the interest of democratic principles and transparency, I ask the commissioners to consider adopting a protocol of when it is appropriate to act against other elected officials or offices. Number two, the commissioners, county employees, victim advocates groups, the media, and the constituents of Tillamook County should take this opportunity to reflect on how such an intolerable tyrant was not removed from office, but rather reelected. In closing, I commend all the commissioners for taking this action. Indeed, it appears that Commissioner Fournier seemed to make this a top priority as he came into office. Sheriff Brown and a number of his staff also made many efforts to rectify the issue. This action may have been unnecessary had more persons in the know had the courage over the last 3 years to communicate to the public the DA's refusal to prosecute and our office's abuse of county employees and victims of crime, because Aubrey Olson would not have been reelected. As Aristotle said, courage is the first virtue, because without courage, no other virtue will stand. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that's all of our public comments. So now we'll move on. Oh, we do have a non-agenda item today. There's one unscheduled agenda item that will be taken after item 12. So now we'll move on to agenda item 5, which is what folks have been discussing this morning. Consideration of a resolution in the matter of proclaiming no confidence in Aubrey Olson, District Attorney for Tillamook County. Now I'll ask County Counsel Brian Leibel to lead the discussion, please.
So good morning, Commissioners. During last week's board briefing, I provided a recap of the county's investigation into the District Attorney's office and updated the board on developments that have occurred since then. Based on the board's discussion that followed and its request, I drafted a no confidence resolution that is before you now. It includes some of the investigation findings, the improper use of criminal subpoenas that DA Olson had served on the county, and actions that DA Olson had instructed a subordinate to take against a county whistleblower. And currently, right, what we have listed as Tides of Change, also providing a vote of no confidence, also including the resolution in case there's additional entities or individuals providing a vote of no confidence, they could be added at a later point. I'm open to any questions. that
Thank
may
you,
have.
Brian.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to go into the history that you provided for us last week? Just because not everybody was able to join us for our board briefing last week. So let's have a little overview.
Sure, absolutely. Last year, the county had received several complaints from various individuals and entities, complaints regarding the district attorney's office. And because some of those complaints related to county employees assigned to the district attorney's office, the county had an obligation of responsibility to look into those complaints because it regarded county employees there. And we had a responsibility to ensure that those county employees followed county policies, even though the district attorney was a state official and did not fall under county oversight or their policies. And so the county had reached out to an outside law firm who hired an investigator who had prior experience as a deputy district attorney from Marion County. And so that investigator had spent 4 months investigating these complaints, interviewing all the individuals that were willing to speak with her, and even doing her own research into certain cases. That way she could ask questions of the district attorney and the deputy district attorneys about some of those cases, why they got dismissed, why the outcomes were as they were. And so very thorough job. So when she finally finished her report, completed it in mid-February, in total 208 pages. As I recall, I think there was like 35 findings that were substantiated, 16 that were not substantiated. So on its face, very, very thorough, very fair. The county first received its first copy in the beginning of April, after the law firm that hired an investigator had to do a review to make sure it's thorough and correct. So we got a first copy in April, and then afterwards had it redacted, and then provided District Attorney Aubrey Olson with a copy, I think the third week of April. The county had informed her that it standed ready to assist her with some of those findings because it involved the county employees. Therefore, she would have to work with the county HR department on some of those changes. In addition, encouraging her to make other changes based on the investigation findings. But since then, we really haven't had much progress in that area. In fact, what the county did experience was receiving 3 criminal subpoenas, requesting a lot of information that was not related to a criminal case or charge. So a very broad net of information that she was seeking from the county. And so the county had decided to contest those subpoenas because there was really no basis for that information. As an example of some of the information she was seeking with a criminal subpoena was information about the investigation that the county had conducted into her office. In addition, seeking information about complaints against her employees, and her office, and who they were and what they were complaining about. So again, a very improper use of those criminal subpoenas. And so the county was, objecting to those. Uh, Most recently, last month, right, the county received an email from a criminal defense attorney who was concerned about receiving this email, and the email had come from the district attorney's office, in which the deputy DA that sent it to the criminal defense attorney had sent in the email that the district attorney Aubrey Olson had instructed him to reach out to the criminal defense attorney, share parts of the county investigation that had included a witness that was had provided information, and that witness happened to be one of the whistleblowers that had, initially was bringing complaints about the district attorney's office. And so what this email amounted to was retaliation against the county whistleblower because she was disparaging his honesty, his competency, right, his professionalism to a criminal defense attorney who was then going to use it to defend the criminal defendant, right, and undermine the whistleblower's testimony in that case. And so that's I guess a recap of just a string of incidents and probably a pattern of behavior that we were seeing coming from the district attorney's office.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Fournier, would you like to start off this conversation?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. Well, I don't want to, I think we all said quite a bit the last week, but I want to thank everyone that spoke today and spoke online and spoke in person and came in to show the support for the commission, but also more importantly for the survivors of crime. I want to thank everyone that's reached out to us personally, text messages, lots of emails. It's just, the more you hear it, it's just so emotional. It's just crazy to me that this is happening. Having been involved in law enforcement for 22 years, in this county, it's just unprecedented. We shouldn't have to be doing this. We didn't want to be doing this. I was working at the sheriff's office before I was elected, and there was efforts from staff there trying to just figure out how to make this work. Please stop dismissing cases before evidence can be returned from the crime lab, or please let us, hold on to a case until people can be interviewed. Suspects, we can try to get statements. It was just the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt with the 2-day requirement for a report is just, it's just unrealistic and unethical in my opinion. So I know that the effort was there. There are folks that have retired or changed jobs, in their words, because of the lack of, because of the charging decisions and the lack of professionalism of the DAs. And those folks they want to speak. They didn't have time today, but I feel like there's going to be more opportunities for folks to speak up once we do our work here. I think folks will understand that we're trying to make it a safer place to tell your story. And the saddest part is it's still happening. I'm still getting information about violent rape cases that are being settled and charges reduced to something that they should not be based on the facts. Drug cases that are being dismissed because the DA's office doesn't want to wait for the results from the crime lab on the positive, the drugs testing positive. Despite the fact that this commission, we authorized the purchase of a TrueNarc machine with the whole intention of that, it's like 35, 40 grand, was to be able to get what we call a presumptive test. If it's a presumptive positive test, we used to do it in the field with the little test kits, which became very dangerous when fentanyl started hitting the scene. We didn't want to have any exposures to that. So this machine tests that, provides a presumptive result, which is enough in the state of Oregon to pursue charges. And that doesn't get done anymore. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. We wanted to be, DAs typically want to prosecute offenders. They want to prosecute offenders of crimes and help victims. So it's still continuing. And honestly, from the beginning, everyone has said the same thing. Just do your job. How can we help you do our job? How can we do this? Instead, the doors got locked at the DA's office. Investigators weren't allowed and there's rebuttals in the newspaper, but the reality is if you talk personally, if any one of you talk to investigators or police officers or deputies in this county, they will tell you the same thing. The doors were closed. The staff went remote. It would be that I could call a DA as a narcotics officer or doing a sex abuse investigation. I could call any time of the day or night, and someone would speak to me and give me guidance, because that's what it is. It's a partnership between the sheriff's office or the police officers and the DA. We are a team. It's a team. That team was fractured, and I'm telling you, these investigators and detectives and staff and sheriff and detective sergeants have gone out of their way to try to make this work. I just want to mention one thing, because there is some concern in the public of why we waited. The report took the time it took. We didn't want this to be political. We wanted this to be a fair, unbiased investigation, and we didn't want to, there wasn't any push for us to release something or to force an issue. The investigation and the reports came organically, whether or not it happened before the election or not. Trust me, I wish someone else would have put in for that job. I was asking people. The reality is she would have been elected if she only got one vote. So it didn't matter, and it wasn't politically motivated. We just wanted to get it done right for the right reasons. I'm sorry if I'm dragging on, Commissioner. I just made a couple of notes. The other thing with the Tides of Change, I really appreciate the board's courage to come up with their own no confidence. I do know that there are other boards that are in the process of considering this and have time for this meeting. I think you'll see that. The sheriff, I appreciate him speaking. I know personally that he would love to be standing here and putting his name on that, but because of the shenanigans of this district attorney, he can't. But he wants to, and that time will come. And that's the other thing that's happening here is all those motions that our county council mentioned have been vacated. They've already been she got rid of them. But yet the damage done on the cases that those were for, at least one in particular, which is a sex abuse case. The problem with that is now that case is so polluted, and that victim's still not going to get the right justice that they deserve because of her actions. This district attorney, if this district attorney would work as hard of holding offenders accountable and believing in victims and presenting good cases to the grand jury and doing the job correctly as she has of attacking those that are critical, that the amount of energy and time spent in trying to expose a whistleblower that's a union employee, it's crazy that this effort, when all we ask everybody, just could you please do your job? Could you please treat these victims and the victims' families with respect? Instead of that, doubling down every step of this way to the point where, and it's going to be public record, but the fact is that the judge is saying she's hiring a private defense attorney, a criminal defense attorney to represent the state against county employees and investigators. That only job, the only thing they're guilty of is doing their job and building good cases against offenders of sex abuse. And the amount of energy and time, if even a quarter of that was put into presenting these cases to grand jury, taking them to trial, because I'll tell you what, the reality is in Oregon, 90% or even higher, probably, I think Multnomah County is much higher, they do end in plea deals. That's the way the system works. The courts can't handle all these, but the way it works is you build your case and you charge, and the offenders realize that there's too much evidence against them and they go. When you dismiss something before evidence is even in, before a suspect even gets interviewed, there's no chance of justice happening. So the amount of dismissals that have happened is just insane. So I'm very proud. I wish I could be there in person. I'm very proud that this board is doing this. And yeah, I can go on, but it hasn't stopped. It's still continuing. The public's going to have to do what they're going to have to do to, if they're not happy with the way this district attorney's office is running, it's in their hands to do that. And I'll leave it at that. I'm sorry about dragging on so long.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, and I made a few notes too. This is a very heavy action for a Board of Commissioners to take. It is not something that I do lightly as an individual. I don't believe it's something that we do lightly as a board. It's not political. It's not something we wanted to do, was to start a fight with an elected official. That isn't what this is about. And it's a very difficult choice to determine if we should move forward, and we should. And we know that, and we are doing that. This investigation came about because as a acting department head for the county, the district attorney oversees the DA's office. She has full responsibility for the staff in that office. However, those staff are employees of the county. So we feel a responsibility for the work of the employees of the DA's office, and we don't have the authority to take action in that office. We would have absolutely preferred to work with the DA to simply improve the practices of that office. That's what we asked. We had people fully reporting to us, and we didn't have a choice. We had to do an investigation. What we learned in that investigation is available to the public. It's 208 pages, but there are pieces in there that talk about we are not using best practice. We are not doing what should be done, and we wanted to help her fix that. She chose the direction that we are in today by taking legal action against the county rather than coming to us for that collaborative approach to serve the people of our county in the best possible way. She chose retaliation against a whistleblower, absolutely illegal and frankly morally wrong. I spent my entire career before becoming a commissioner working with vulnerable people. That is a calling. It's not a job. Check any of the paychecks. Those who do it, they do it because it's the right thing to do. They do it because socially we have a contract and we care for those who are less vulnerable. We hold offenders accountable. We believe victims. That's what we do. The very people that she was hired to represent are those vulnerable people and those victims. Her job is to hold the offenders accountable. That is her job. And somewhere along the line, she got her wires crossed. The investigation reports, and in her own words, she confirms that she thinks about the offender's rights first. She's in the wrong job if that's her approach. Her judgment before, during, and after this investigation does not align with the values that I want to see in a district attorney's office. And I believe, based on conversations that I have had with members of the public, that there's agreement about that. Her latest action through the court to request a judge to force the county to pay for the defense attorney she hired to go after the sheriff and the whistleblower is just one more example of her trying to use the system for her personal gain, and one more example of exceptionally poor judgment. I will repeat some of what I said last week in response to why we don't remove her as commissioners. Simply stated, we cannot. The DA is an elected position that reports only to the voters. What we can and have done is to hear from the voters with the complaints, conduct an investigation, share the results with the DA, attempted to work with the office to make things better, and then share with the public and the voters her lack of appropriate response and the facts of that inappropriate response. We're further making this public statement through our board resolution proclaiming no confidence in Aubrey Olson, our district attorney. From here, it's up to the voters. If the decision she had made are the justice for victims that voters want, no action is the answer. If the demonstrated lack of caring for and supporting victims makes you as angry as it does me, a voter recall can be started through the state elections.
office. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I want people, the public, to understand that everyone wanted District Attorney Olson to succeed. Everyone. Everyone wanted this to go well. And it became clear over a long period of time that it was not going well. But people were very patient. I know because I'm on her board that Valerie Bundy tried to work with the district attorney for years, literally for the last several years, and trying to build a relationship and trying to provide information. And it's everyone's efforts have fallen flat. And so it's been over a period of time that that this evidence has grown and dissatisfaction has grown, and people have been reporting these situations to us, as Brian said. And it's a very weighty thing for commissioners to take on, because we're not in charge of the DA, and we don't get involved in the business of other elected officials because it's not our role. So I think the public may be confused about that, about the powers of the commissioner, what our board, what powers we do have. Someone called me recently on this subject and said, maybe you guys could start some civics classes. I thought, well, that's a great idea. Maybe we could start some civics education, public service announcements or something, to explain why, how government works, how your government works, and why we do the things we do. So ultimately, the running of the district attorney's office is the district attorney's responsibility exclusively. And so we really couldn't take any action until there was preponderance of complaints that things were going terribly wrong. And so we initiated the investigation, because that's what we could do, is initiate an investigation. And I appreciate Commissioner Fournier talking about the timing of it. You know, the timing of it is awkward and unfortunate in the sense of the election, but it wasn't political. We didn't initiate an investigation in order to come up with a politically motivated result. We did it because we were obligated to do it, because it was the right thing to do. We had multiple people complaining to us, and we couldn't investigate the district attorney, and HR can't investigate the district attorney's office. So we initiated the investigation. And we hoped, and it took much longer than we thought it would, because there were so many complaints. So all of those complaints had to be received by the investigator and then investigated by the investigator, so that they would know that there were valid complaints. So then it just took much longer than we thought it would. And then we had the result, and we presented the result to the district attorney in hopes that the district attorney would have an epiphany and say, oh my God, there are serious problems here that I want to address. And had that happened, this would not be happening today, because that's what we all hoped for, that the problems would get addressed, that HR could work with the problems with the people in the office who are county employees, and the Department of Justice could have come in and offered support and help. There are a lot of things that could have happened, but none of those things happened. And instead, what happened is that the district attorney started retaliating. And so, Brian talked about that, Paul talked about that, but it's shocking, truly, what's happening right now. All of it. If you happen to read the 200-page report, you would be shocked by the things in the report, including the testimony shared by our very brave neighbor who gave public comment online. Thank you for that, by the way. Thank you very much for telling your story here today. It was, it's heart-shattering, really. And so everything that's happened has been shocking, including the retaliation after the report. You know, the thing that it's all bad. But what we haven't talked about today is Brady. So when a law enforcement officer is Brady'd, that means they're discredited. Their career is essentially ruined. They're officially discredited as witnesses. So they can't, you know, if anyone in law enforcement is investigating something, they may be called to court in order to testify, right? But if you Brady somebody, that means that their testimony is herever after discredited. So it's to Brady someone, it's to destroy their career. And that's what the district attorney is trying to do to the whistleblower, which is against the law, and to the sheriff. You know, it's wild. And additionally, like the whole thing about the district attorney instructing an assistant district attorney, her employee, to provide information to defense counsel in order to discredit the whistleblower, who was the investigating officer. What all of that is horrible, but what it really means is that the district attorney was willing to eliminate their own case, right? So this means that the state had a case and the district attorney provided information to retaliate against the whistleblower that would destroy the case. It's crazy. So all of that's why we're here today, because everything that's happened is terrible for victims in our community. And it's just getting worse. Not only, Commissioner Fournier said it's still happening, it's getting worse. So, you know, to the public comment given by the mother of the victim, this morning was the first time that I had heard that the district attorney threatened the mother of the victim. You know, that in itself, that in itself is so mind-boggling and horrible that it makes our decision obvious as far as I'm concerned. So the other thing that we haven't talked about yet is that last week when we were talking about this, we were talking about what are we in control of and what are we not? And we are in control of the stipend that the county pays to the district attorney. And that's because the district attorney is an employee of the state, and the state pays her wages, but we pay a stipend because the wages are too low. So we pay a $20,000 stipend for that position that we're talking about eliminating because we don't have faith. We don't feel good or believe in the work that the district attorney is doing for Tillamook County. So why would we pay for it? Additionally, we're absolutely not going to pay for we haven't voted on this yet, but I believe this is true of all of us, that we're absolutely not going to pay for the criminal defense attorney that the district attorney engaged in order to retaliate against the whistleblower. Unbelievable. No, we're not using county funds for that. And we can't support paying for the liability insurance that the district attorney requires when she receives bar complaints, because her behavior is so risky that the county can't support that risk. So, you know, this whole thing is awful for our entire community. This is awful for Tillamook County, but especially for the victims. So, you know, I want Tillamook County to be a place where victims are believed, where victims are protected, where offenders, especially violent offenders, are held accountable. For Tillamook County not to be a place where victims are victimized by perpetrators and then they're victimized by our own system. So here we are, and this is where we are. So Commissioner Scar, will you please read into record the resolution?
I will. Madam Chair,
in the matter of proclaiming no confidence in Aubrey Olson, District Attorney for Tillamook County. This matter came before the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners on June 17th, 2026, at the Board of Commissioners' own request. The board, being fully apprised, finds as follows. An outside independent investigator substantiated 35 complaints against the district attorney's office to include poor victim and partner agency engagement practices, including not believing victims' testimony, retaliatory behavior, and hostility toward victims, victim advocates, and law enforcement. Failing to adhere to human resource policies and prosecuting best practices, including inadequate training and supervision of deputy district attorneys, unwarranted public reprimands of subordinates, and failure to respond to community complaints in a timely manner. Deficient charging, preparation, and trial practices, including the handling of child abuse and domestic violence cases, resulting in concern for victims and community safety, and failing to present viable cases to grand jury or bring charges on serious crimes. Incompetent trial preparation techniques, failing to call key witnesses at grand jury hearings and trials, and making plea offers in cases that result in outcomes that do not sufficiently reflect the gravity of the crime or promote community safety. Aubrey Olson, as district attorney, improperly used a criminal process by issuing 3 subpoenas to Tillamook County seeking information unrelated to a criminal case or charge, to include complaints against the DA and the DA's office made by the Board of County Commissioners, Tillamook County Circuit Court, the Sheriff's Office, Oregon State Police, and Tillamook City Police, among others. Communications about the DA and the DA's office made by the Board of County Commissioners, the Tillamook County Circuit Court, the Sheriff's Office, Oregon State Police, and Tillamook City Police, among others. HR personnel records of certain law enforcement officials and how the county was funding its investigation. And investigator notes, communications, and interview recordings related to the county's investigation into complaints against the DA's office. DA Aubrey Olson instructed a deputy DA to send an email to a criminal defense attorney that disparages a county whistleblower and their credibility by questioning their competence and truthfulness after they cooperated with the county's investigation into the DA's office, which is tantamount to retaliation by sabotaging their ability to perform their law enforcement duties. The following entities, community partners, and individuals have expressed no confidence in DA Aubrey Olson. Tides of Change. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the Board of Commissioners has no confidence in Aubrey Olson. She does not possess the morals and core values to serve as District Attorney of Tillamook County, not pursuing justice with commitment to fairness, offender accountability, community safety, and victim support, not successfully working with law enforcement, community partners, and regarding the trust and relationship she has broken with them, and not effectively leading the district attorney's office and the county employees assigned there to be highly regarded and skilled and proficient in their work. Madam Chair, I move approval of Resolution R-26-013.
And I second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Further discussion, Commissioner Fournier?
No, thanks.
All right. Well, I would further like to thank the Tides of Change Board for your work and your resolution and your statement, and for being here today, and for everyone who gave public comment. And we will welcome additional statements, resolutions, and public comments in future meetings, because I also have heard from other people and organizations that are interested in joining us in this. So we have, excuse me, we have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. Thank you, everyone. So if everyone would like to stay, it's always wonderful to have a full room. We recognize that some of you may have come specifically for that item, and it is not rude to get up and exit the room if you have someplace else you need to be. That said, we have a lot of riveting business yet to do. We'll just take a moment. Thanks, everyone, for being here in person.
I can remember sitting in those chairs and thinking, can
Mhm.
I leave now? Because I did my
Yeah.
part, right?
Yeah, it's not rude. You're right. Okay, we will move on to item 6, which is consideration of an order in the matter of rescinding board order 25-007 and establishing and modifying fees for the Tillamook County Clerk's Office. With us, we have Tillamook County Clerk Christy Nysleth. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. So before you is an order to rescind our fee increase, our fee adjustment that we did last February. Back in, what day was it that we did that? When we amended ordinance number 34, which is the Land Preservation Conservation Fund, the PLCP fund that is collected through recording fees that I collect, and then it's turned over to, for the benefit of the surveyor's office. We took the fee amount out of the ordinance so that future amendments to the ordinance, if we wanted to adjust the fee, we wouldn't have to keep amending the ordinance. So after much discussion with county council and Isabel, we decided that that fee will live, the PLCP fund fee will live within my fee schedule. And then, because we collect it. And so after talking with the surveyor, that fee will be $30. So that would be an increase. Legislation passed last year that allowed the cap to be removed for, it had been capped at $10 for a very long time. And so there was the ability to remove the cap. So with the amendment to ordinance 34, that cap was removed. And so now asking in this order to set it at $30 that we'll collect for recording, and the documents that it will be collected on are in ordinance 34. Okay, and then the second thing is when we did our fee adjustment last year, we increased marriage license from $50 to $60, but we forgot to carry that over to domestic partnerships, which is it's equal. So just added that increase of $10 there as well. So open to any questions.
No questions. That the fee for the surveyors, I think it was in the 80s when it was last set. So, the fact that it moved up was very exciting. So anyone who's listening today and thinks, that's a big jump, yes, but it was over, a long time.
40 years.
Yeah, 40 years. So it was time.
And just for reference, I wanted to mention, I did put a notice out to our partners, title companies, all of that. So, and our recording partners, just to let them know that the commissioners would be entertaining a fee increase coming that we anticipate it to go into effect August 1st. So the amendments to ordinance 34 take effect July 1. And so we're giving people time to know that on August 1st that this will go into effect. So just that's out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier?
I don't have any questions.
Right. We're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, consideration of order number 26-032 in the matter of rescinding board order number 25-007 and establishing and modifying fees for the Tillamook County Clerk's Office. I move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Christy.
Okay, item 7 is consideration of a contract for goods with JB Wood Recyclers for Parks Department firewood. Good morning, Dan Kai, Tillamook County Parks Director.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time today. Much appreciated, as always. So when I first got here a couple of years ago, I came into the tail end of a contract that was in existence that just kept on going and going and going. And what happens is that we pretty much received direction that we can't do that. And so last year we started an informal procurement process with the bids. We sent out and we ended up with Biomass, the same people that had been providing the service for years. Well, we have to do this every year. We just went through the process again. We sent out the information to an even greater number of potential contractors that provided this service. We got about half those that responded with qualified bids. And what's happened is that the contract for the lowest one was 2 cents under what we had been paying for in the past with JB Wood Recyclers. So I just want to go on record that we had no problem whatsoever with biomass. They provided great service, and really none at all. The product was good. It was everything that we asked, but we do believe in the process. If we're going to put out a bid, even though it's 2 cents less, then that's what it is. And so I know that Biomass was not happy about that. In fact, they asked to actually participate in this meeting today and maybe very well online to issue concerns or state concerns. But we believe in the system. We think it was the right thing to do. And so we'd like you to approve the contract with JB Wood Recyclers out of Monmouth, Oregon. And hope you support that recommendation.
Thank you, Dan. Commissioner Fournier?
I don't have, I just had a question maybe for Brian or Rachel. I just want to make sure, is that true? If it's 2 cents, we have to go with the lowest bidder? I'm just curious.
So yes, the presumption, right, is to go with the lowest bidder. But also, right, there's a finding, right, that they're the lowest responsible, right, responsive bidder, right? And so if you have all three, right, and so if Dan Kais, right, looks at it and says, yes, I think, you got the lowest, you're responsible and you're responsive, right, concerning your bid, then that's the decision.
Okay. All right, thank you.
No questions. Okay, well, we support you in the process and hope that the service and the product that you receive are equal or better.
Thank you.
Right. Madam Chair, in consideration of a contract for goods with JB Wood Recyclers for Parks Department firewood, I move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Don. Dan, you have the next item also, 8, consideration of a contract for goods with Boyd's Implement Service, Inc. for Parks Department tractor and utility vehicles.
Yes. So we wanted to get ahead of the curve a little bit. These things are in the proposed budget, which has not been adopted yet. But we also know that it takes a long time to get this equipment historically. And so we wanted to be able to be in a position that on July 1, if we could, to call up Kayla over at Boyd's Implement and say, yeah, let's do this thing in order to get it, before the end of the year at least. All this equipment is sorely needed. I had a conversation this morning with Gene Henderson, who is the primary operator of our tractors. We have 2 right now. We've got one that's over 20 years old that's sitting it's unoperable. It's sitting up at Kilches. It needs thousands of dollars worth of work, and more than likely it should be surplus. And then we have another one that's at Barbie Jetty, and that is over 10 years old. It too is having mechanical issues. We do a lot of stuff with these tractors. We move picnic tables. We use it to conduct routine maintenance. We unload our wood deliveries. The list goes on and on and on. So this is very important for us. The RTVs are replacement for what we have been using as the Easy Go golf carts for years, which we're finding to be very unreliable. When we started to replace these with 2 of them last year, it made a big difference. And our golf cart inventory, which is used throughout all of our campsites and campgrounds, are an important part of what we do as well. Volunteers dependent, as well as our staff, and that fleet is not getting any younger either. It needs to be looked at surplus. So we hope that you can support this purchase, these contracts. And we know that the price came in at $109,494.16. We had $131,000 budgeted for this next year. So we came under the projected amount, and we're pretty happy about that as well. The last thing is that in talking to Scott with Gene this morning about this, that this new tractor will give us with the attachments that it has, will give us a wider range of versatility rather than what we've had in the past. So that's the story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly know that Parks needs tractors. That's, yeah, obviously. And we will presumably approve the budget later this morning. So I don't think you're too early for this. Commissioner?
No questions.
Commissioner Fournier?
No question.
We're ready for the motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a contract for goods with Boyd's Implement Service, Inc. for Parks Department tractor and utility vehicles, I move approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Dan.
Commissioners, thank you very much.
Item 9 is consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Unitas Services LLC for the Pacific City Transfer Station Improvements Project. Justin Weiss.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, so last week we had the notice of intent to award to United Services for the Pacific City Transfer Station upgrades and improvements. That's been about exactly a week now. We've had the paperwork submitted to DEQ that's required to access our loan and grant money, and they have approved Unitas as the lowest bidder. So we are good to move forward with the contract with them. And again, for the record, this will be an expansion of capacity for garbage and scrap metal, additional bays within the Z-wall, as well as a recycling building on site with solar panels. I just learned, I didn't know we were going to have solar panels on top for some electricity back into the grid. And that'll keep people dry for recycling during the winter, and also hopefully putting a baler inside to process more materials on site and assist with moving those through Tillamook and onto recycling industries. So I had a call yesterday with the owner, Vern, of Unitas Services, and he's excited to get going. We should have no problem expending our grant money here before June 30th after speaking with him. And we're excited to get the project going. So happy to answer your questions if you do have any, Commissioners.
Thank you, Justin. Commissioner Fournier.
Sorry, I was muted. No, I have no questions. Thanks, Justin.
No questions. Excited to have this project underway.
As am I. All right. I'm ready for the motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Unitas Services LLC for the Pacific City Transfer Station Improvements Project, I move approval.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Justin, you have the next item with us also. Item 10 is consideration of modification number 23 to professional services agreement number 3491 with Don G. Averill Recycling, Inc. for the transfer station operation, transport, and disposal for processing of solid waste. Go ahead, Justin.
Yes, so this is our contract with Don G. Averill Recycling, who processes all of our garbage, as well as our recycling at the Tillamook Transfer Station. Materials from Manzanita and Pacific City are brought down to Tillamook and processed by Averill Recycling. So we appreciate their good work. We are getting, more recycling, more garbage through the years, and as we know, costs are going up across the board. So the contract with Averill Recycling is tied to 80% of Consumer Price Index, CPI, for inflation. And based on the numbers from last year to this year, we're seeing a $1.94 increase per ton to Averill Recycling. So that would be $83.33 per ton of garbage hauled to the Coffin Butte landfill. Typically in prior years, we've approved, last week we did discuss the rate increase for all three transfer stations going up $2. We just kind of flip-flopped them. There was just some confusion, and we got the orders a little backwards, but nonetheless, the $1.94 increase per ton was reflected in the $2 increase that we approved last week for garbage and yard debris at the transfer station. So we had a good discussion on that last week. And then I did talk with Averill Recycling earlier this week about, ongoing costs, Coffin Butte closing, and just looking at the big picture of what the costs are for the county and what his costs are for Don G. Averill Recycling. So we're going to sit down most likely next week and kind of dig into the numbers a little bit more. And as we've discussed multiple times, Coffin Butte, kind of an unknown lifespan there with the landfill. So we're going to dig into that a little bit more. It's been great to talk about at SWAC, but we're going to really spearhead that in the next fiscal year and try to figure out where we're going moving forward. So happy to answer any questions if you do have any on the $1.94 increase to $83.33 per ton for Averill Recycling hauling.
Thank you, Justin. Commissioner Fournier?
I have no questions. I appreciate our partnership with Abrils. They've been good partners for the county, and unfortunately costs everything going up. And we had a great discussion about a lot of this last week. So I'm supportive.
Thank you.
As am I.
And so am I. And also, given the cost of fuel right now, given the cost of diesel, I'm frankly surprised that the prices aren't higher than they are. I think that our business, right? But our businesses that depend on transporting whatever they're transporting, it's hard for businesses to just break even right now with the cost of diesel.
All right, Madam Chair, consideration modification number 23 to professional services agreement number 3491 with Don G. Averill Recycling, Inc. for the transfer station operation, transport, and disposal for processing of solid waste. I move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think is that Matt?
That's Matt Kelly. I'm trying to text him to,
Safe.
there he goes.
Okay. All right.
One of our own, we'll call him out.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank
All
you,
right.
Justin.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks,
Have a great
Justin.
day.
Item 11 is consideration of modification number 14 to personal services agreement number 4334 with Helion Software, Inc. for ORCAT's tax assessment software license, maintenance, and support. With us this morning, we have Cassandra Larson, Tillamook County Assessor and Tax Collector. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Before you today is our annual contract with Helion Software. We have a long-standing cooperative professional agreement with this company. I believe we've been in contract for over 25 years. They provide over 35 essential valuation and taxation programs with our department. They also have programs within the clerk's department as well. The contract before you is a 3.75 increase from last year. And if you have any questions, happy to answer, but seeking your approval.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Scar?
I know that Helion is at the heart of so much of what is done down there. So it's just one of those products that we absolutely must have. So as we just talked about, the cost of things is rising. So
Commissioner Fournier?
I agree. I support.
Yep, as do I.
all right. Madam Chair, in consideration of modification number 14 to personal services agreement number 4334 with Helion Software, Inc. for ORCAT's tax assessment software license, maintenance, and support, I move approval.
And I second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. And item 12 is consideration of an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement number PO-44000-000-47172 with the State of Oregon Department of Consumer and Business Services for manufactured home document processing. Cassandra Larson.
Yeah, so this contract we entered into last year with the state. The state used to process all manufactured home ownership transfers for us. with a fee. So we have people in our department that can do this and collect the fee ourselves and increase revenue for Tillamook County. So we entered into this contract last year, and within a year, we processed about 70 ownership changes and brought in about $5,000 to the county. This contract just has some updating language for contacts, but it also extends the contract to June 30th, 2031. And we would very much like to continue this and believe it's in the betterment of the county to do so.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier?
Yeah, I just want to say this, I totally approve of this, and I just want to tell a real quick funny story about Matthew Amazing in her office, that he gets so excited about bringing some of this money into the county. So I appreciate his attitude about that. So I definitely want to keep doing it.
Thank you.
Excellent. I'm in support.
As am I, and thank you for taking it on, trying it. I'm glad it's successful and happy to continue.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an amendment to intergovernmental agreement number PO-44000-000-47172 with the State of Oregon Department of Consumer and Business Services for manufactured home document processing. Move approval.
I second that.
One of the long ones, I was like, did I start with that? Apparently I didn't.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Cassandra.
Okay, now we will take our unscheduled item, which is consideration of an order in the matter of notice of intent to award a prevailing wage rate contract for construction for the Tillamook County Fairgrounds 2026 Electrical Services Upgrade Project. With us, we have Cami Von Sagern, Tillamook County Fairgrounds Director. Good morning, Cami.
Good morning. Sorry, I got to jump on that camera just a moment ago. I was trying to do all my screens here, so I had everything in front of me. So good morning, commissioners. Yes, we're really excited about this. This is for an intent to award prevailing wage rate contract for US West Construction. Actually, they're US West Corporation. So this was a fairly large project. It is in 3 phases. We went ahead and went through the notifications for the Daily Journal, all the postings. We had quite a few people that were interested in the bid process, which was really great. Nice to see that there were so many people that were able to get the documents and then come out and actually do a site visit. We went through the process and did our bid, how do you say that? Receiving bids on June 9th. We were able to review all of those. They were all in attendance, and we did select the lowest bid. We had a couple that were very close. They were all kind of within the ballpark, which is really nice to see that the costs were all about the same across the state. So we were able to select US West Corporation with the amount of $414,050 to complete all 3 phases of the project.
Thank you, Cami. Well, I agree with you that this is very exciting and much needed and a long time in coming. So it's thrilling to be at this point with the project. Commissioners?
Full support. I think the investments and work that have been done at the fairground over the past few years have really been phenomenal in bringing it up to be a facility that is safe and efficient and functional. And the more, that we can do that, the more use we get out of it, the better it is for our community. So.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yeah, and I agree, except I think Cami needs lighting in her office because she looks a little dark on the screen. So I am supportive.
All right. Well, as am I. And I would also like to make a plug for anyone listening or watching that the fair is looking for 3 new board members. So really important work is happening at the fair. We're looking for board members.
All right.
Thank you,
Madam Chair, in consideration of order number 26-033 in the matter of a notice of intent to award a prevailing wage contract for construction for the Tillamook County Fairgrounds 2026 Electrical Service Upgrades Project, I move approval.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Cami.
Thank you so much.
Okay, item 13 is consideration of an order in the matter of acceptance of certification of election, proclamation of results, and formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue, RFPD, Rural Fire Protection District. With us, we have Isabel Gilda, our administrative analyst. Good morning,
Good
Isabel.
morning, Commissioners. So I'll give you a little history on how we got here today. In November 2025, the City of Bay City and Tillamook Fire District submitted resolutions petitioning the Board of Commissioners to initiate the proceeding to form a new fire district that would encompass the areas now serviced by those two districts. And that new district would be named the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue, RFPD, Rural Fire Protection District. In December 2025, the Board of Commissioners voted via Board Order 25071 to start that initiation process. The Board Order in December set out the proposed tax rate and acknowledged how employees and assets would be transferred, how existing debts would be assumed, and directed the notice for the Board of Commissioners to hold 2 public hearings. So the Commissioners held 2 hearings, one on January 14th and one on February 11th, to determine, in accordance with the criteria prescribed in ORS 199462 subsection 1, whether the area could benefit from the formation of the new district. So with the reviewing a petition for a boundary change, the Board of Commissioners considered local comprehensive planning for the area, economic, demographic, and sociological trends and projections pertinent to the proposal, prospective physical development of land that would be directly or indirectly affected by the proposed boundary change. The January 14th public hearing, the Board of Commissioners heard public testimony and considered that criteria to determine if the area would be benefited by the formation of the district. After deliberation, the board determined the petition met the requirements and devoted Board Order 26-003 in the matter of a preliminary order approving the formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue, RFPD. And it set the date for the second public hearing on February 11th. And that board order on the February 11th provided the Rural Fire Protection District would be located entirely within Tillamook County, and the effective date of the forming the new district would be June 30th, 2026 at 11:30 p.m. The employees of the new of the City of Bay City Fire Department and the Tillamook Fire District shall be transferred to the new district, and the asset transfer of real property and personal property and other assets of the Tillamook Fire District and Bay City for a provision of the fire and EMS services shall be transferred to and become the property of the new district. They also discussed the debt distribution. The new district will assume all fire protection related debt obligations of the City of Bay City Fire Department and the Tillamook Fire District. The City of Bay City has an outstanding municipal loan for $63,000 for fire apparatus. No other long-term debt obligations will be assumed by the new district. And they also called for the election of members to the new district board. So today you have before you, where's my order? The matter of the acceptance of the election, but this was forwarded to the voters for election. The certificate of election, proclamation of results, and formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue, RFPD. And I have the results for the election, and the for votes were 2,339 and against were 2,069 votes. And the order calls for the district board, and there's 5 members that were voted in the same election. And the election was also contingent upon the dissolution of the Tillamook Bay Fire District, and that measure 19-185 passed on the May 19th election. So before you today, you have all of that wrapped up in this board order to finalize the process of the formation of the district.
Thank you,
If you have any
Isabel.
questions, hopefully I can answer them.
Any questions, comments?
I don't have any questions. I want to thank everyone who came together to do the work to make that happen. I know it was a heavy lift. I know that as voters, it's complicated for us to even to dig in to understand. Overall, it was not an easy process for anybody And I think as we look at our special districts and how they're funded, the challenge becomes greater and greater every day for them to continue to function at a reasonable level with the tax rates that were set back in the 90s. And they're stuck with that tax rate. So the options in order to improve service really require this kind of an exceptionally heavy lift to look and say, is there a better way to do what we've been doing? None of us can live without fire protection services. In our community, it is so much more than fire protection. It is response to accidents and injuries and all kinds of things. This is a very, very big body of work. And I appreciate the coming together that community did to say, there is a better way. They did the analysis. And we sit here today with that completed. And I thanks to the voters again for their digging in to understand and passing these measures to provide the best service possible in our community.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier?
Yeah, I would agree with everything Aaron said. I would also just say that with an election that close too, there was a lot of concerns raised, and I know that the district is aware of that, and I just hope moving forward they can provide the service to the folks that maybe weren't sure that it was a great idea. But it is it's a trend that has to happen. That like operating on that old of a tax levy is not enough. So I'm supportive, and I wish them luck.
Thank you, as am I. I think this is I'm relieved for the community, for both Tillamook and Bay City, for the future of fire protection and what this will offer to the community, because the direction previous to this was not looking good for fire protection in Tillamook. So I think this was a good solution, and a lot of people worked hard to make this happen. Commissioner, would you be willing to read the proclamation into the record?
Yes, I need to find it. Hang on just a second. Oh, you have it on top. Perfect. Thank you. In the matter of acceptance of certificate of election, proclamation of results, and formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD, order number 26-034. This matter came before the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners on June 17, 2026. The board, being fully apprised of the records and files herein, finds the following. On February 11, 2026, the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners signed Board Order Number 26-005 and ordered the question of the formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD be referred to the voters for election. On May 19, 2026, an election was duly held to determine the question of formation and for the first members of the district's 5-member board. On June 10, 2026, the county clerk has certified the results of said election to the Board of Commissioners. Now, therefore, it is hereby ordered that the number of votes cast for and against the question of the formation of the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD are set forth in the attached certificate of the county clerk marked Exhibit B, attached hereto and incorporated by reference. The Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD, as described in Exhibit A, attached hereto and incorporated by reference, is created as of the effective date of this order in accordance with ORS 198.820 and shall be a municipal corporation formed for the purpose of providing rural fire protection services and facilities in accordance with ORS Chapter 478 and shall be known as the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD, and as such shall have perpetual succession. The permanent tax rate limit for the Tillamook Bay Fire and Rescue RFPD is $1.49, 1.49 per $1,000, 1,000 of assessed valuation. The Board of County Commissioners finds and declares the following individuals to be the first members of the district board. For Exhibit B, certification and abstract, term of office will be determined by lots at the first board meeting. Leonard Ingalls, Kathy Baker, Casey Burden, Tim Hamburger, and Jeff Hofford. The county clerk shall issue certificates of election to the above named individuals. This order shall be effective June 30, 2026. I move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Isabel.
And I'd just like to thank Rachel, our Chief Administrative Officer, and Legal Counsel, and our County Clerk, because they were really instrumental in making this happen. It was a think without this, I don't think I could get through the whole process. So I'd like to thank them. They were very helpful.
Thank you, Isabel. Moving on to item 14, consideration of a contract for goods with LDV Inc. for the Search and Rescue Incident Command Trailer. Sheriff Brown.
Hello again. So this is something I've been talking about for a long time. It's been a very drawn out work in progress, finding money, finding exactly what we want, et cetera. But ultimately, this is a custom built specific to our exact needs and where we're going to park it and what we're going to use it for. We did a call for bids essentially, and LDV was actually the second lowest bid. The first lowest bid, when I went through and actually really looked at and analyzed all of the very particular details in each of the bids, the first bid had a lot of stuff missing or a lot of things that were not going to work for us. One example was interior ceiling heights of only 6.5 feet. That was a very significant thing because a lot of us are really tall, and with our boots on, that would be very inconvenient. Additionally, LDV offered a warranty, a 1-year, 12,000-mile warranty, where the other company didn't. There was a fairly lengthy list of things like that I was actually able to send over to Isabel and Brian reviewed, and we were able to go with LDV. Because their bid was considerably closer in the details of what it is that we were specifically looking for. This is a very highly praised company, so we're actually going to get a really good trailer, I believe. Funds are coming from multiple sources. The largest cut is the Title III funds, which is federal money that can only be used for search and rescue related incidents on U.S. Forest Service land, which of course we do a lot of. There's also the Firewise program, but like I said, a large chunk of it came from that. And we had a couple of grants that we received and donations from foundations. And we're making up the rest of it with community fundraising that we've done over the years with our search and rescue banquet. We also have a couple more grants that we're currently working on trying to obtain in order to be able to help offset some more additional costs, because we will have some graphics and some radio work that'll need to be done once we get the trailer. So long story short, we're finally at a point, and like I said, all the talking and planning I've been doing where we have a contract and we can get started on it. So that's what's before you today.
Thank you, Sheriff. It's a celebration. You know, I've been listening to you talk about this for several years, and it's wonderful to see it come together. You know, as it from the first time I heard the idea of it and the need for it, to all of the work that you've been doing, planning for it, fundraising for it, grant writing for it, saving for it. You know, this is a real accomplishment. So for your department, and just to make sure the public understands, this is not coming from the general fund. This is really thanks to the sheriff's office for doing all of this fundraising to be able to do this.
That's correct.
Commissioner Fournier?
I think you said it very well. I'll leave it there.
Agreed. It's great to see it come to fruition. We've been setting money aside for many years in the Title III, and it's great to see it actually going to be on the ground in a trailer. So
I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a contract for goods with LDV Inc. for the Search and Rescue Incident Command Trailer, I move approval.
A second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item 15 is consideration of a settlement agreement to resolve tax foreclosure litigation against Tillamook County following the U.S. Supreme Court case Tyler versus Hennepin County. And Brian Leibel, County Counsel, is going to lead this discussion.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, I would like to provide some background information because I anticipate there will be some questions regarding what this is about and why the county is doing this. So if you'd please allow me to step through what got us here. So for decades, Tillamook County, along with the other 35 Oregon counties, have followed state law with this tax foreclosure process. In particular, the county sold foreclosed property and recouped the money owed for taxes and costs. And then after it did that, it would disperse the remaining proceeds to local taxing districts. However, in May of 2023, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Tyler v. Hennepin County, a case out of Minnesota, that counties that retain tax foreclosure sale proceeds beyond what is owed for taxes and costs commit an unconstitutional taking under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. I think it is important to note that there was and is no finding of intentional or negligent wrongdoing by the counties. Rather, the Supreme Court found Minnesota's tax foreclosure process, similar to that of Oregon and other states, was an impermissible taking by the government in violation of the Fifth Amendment. Since that ruling, numerous lawsuits have been filed across the nation demanding counties to return these surplus proceeds to the former property owners. In Oregon, 3 lawsuits were filed in 2023 after the Supreme Court decision, naming every county in Oregon as a defendant or alleged defendant. Like the rest of the counties in Oregon, Tillamook County retained the surplus proceeds from foreclosed properties and distributed them to local taxing districts in accordance to state law. Now, these lawsuits in Oregon are demanding counties to return the surplus proceeds, money the county no longer has. In 2025, the Oregon legislature passed House Bill 2089, which updated Oregon law to align with the Supreme Court ruling. And although the HB 2089 requires counties to return any surplus proceeds from foreclosed properties that occurred since the Supreme Court case decision, a statute of limitations for a Fifth Amendment taking is 6 years from the filing of a lawsuit. So for lawsuits against Oregon counties, taking claims date back to 2017. To avoid litigation and the cost of it, the plaintiff's attorneys initially offered Tillamook County a settlement in which the county would pay over $1.5 million in surplus proceeds and interest into a settlement fund that would then be used to return surplus proceeds to former property owners. After further negotiations, the plaintiff's attorney agreed to reduce the amount to just under $950,000. This reduction reflects a reduction in interest and a credit for county cost. The settlement agreement before you absolves the county of further liability stemming from the Supreme Court decision and the related subsequent litigation. Other Oregon counties have put forth several arguments as to why counties should not be held responsible, but they have failed. Pursuant to state law, counties kept the surplus proceeds from tax foreclosed properties, and the Supreme Court ruled that's unconstitutional. And there's no getting around those two facts. Almost all counties either have settled, are settling, or seriously considering settling. A couple are not, hoping to succeed with their legal arguments where other counties have failed. But they risk significant costs in doing so, and in my opinion, unjustifiably. The county would have 90 days to pay the agreed upon amount with an additional 30-day extension possible. I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Commissioner Fournier?
Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a bitter pill to swallow. And it's kind of a dichotomy for me because I as an individual, I can understand it and I agree. I mean, I can understand the unconstitutional nature of that as a taking. As a county commissioner, it's painful because the county was following state law and doing everything that we thought we were doing right. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court saw otherwise. So this is a tough one for us as a county as we are in our budget process. And this was a big hit, but I appreciate Brian's efforts in negotiating and trying to get the settlement down. I know other counties have had to pay much more than this. And I'm just looking forward to getting this behind us so we can move on and not have to deal with this one again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. It's very frustrating. We have done everything we were supposed to do following state law. And the other piece of this is Tillamook County works really hard not to foreclose on properties if we have any other option. So if any of you have sat in this meeting when we have talked about foreclosures in the past, we do everything we can to find the owner, to work with the owner, and to help them retain their property. We don't want to take property. That is not something that we like to do. It is, however, something Oregon state law has required us to do. So to me, it's exceptionally frustrating that we're sitting in this place today. If we had been able to find the owners of many of those pieces of property and have them pay those back taxes, we never would have taken them to begin with. So the concept that this legal structure is coming forward to say, oh, we're going to get the money back to the people, well, best of luck to you. Most of the pieces of property that we have taken are not people that you are going to find. It was an heir of an heir of an heir that passed it down, and it never happened. So anyway, it's very frustrating. And yes, financially, it's a very big hit for the county in a time when we don't have a lot of room to take big financial hits. But it's also not an option. As our attorneys indicated, it is in fact something we're not going to get around. Counties that are more aggressive than we are and more well-funded than we are have also determined it is not a lawsuit that you'll win. So I think when we look at our options, this is the best we've got. So not happy, but required to move forward.
I would just like to add one thing too, and I wish the state would step in since we were following the law by doing this, and it would have been nice if they had stepped in on this. And I agree with you. This is going to be one where the lawyers are making a lot of money, and a lot of those heirs won't be getting the money. So it's frustrating. I wish the state.
Lawyers are making money. Thank you. That is correct. That is what's happening. And these are funds that we have distributed to schools and fire districts and all the special districts throughout our county. So it's not like we're sitting on these funds.
Right.
Need to send them back. So.
I agree with I agree with my colleagues that it is frustrating. We can't afford it. The money is long gone, and to the special districts and the school districts, et cetera. And they are not in this settlement. They are not asked to pay. We're asked to pay, but we've already distributed the funds. So, and we were following the rules that were established by the state of Oregon. So there was no wrongdoing on our part, but still, I regret that they changed the rule and that this retroactive payment is part of that. Had it been, we've changed the rule and here's how you need to do things differently moving forward, that, we could have lived with that easily. But this is indeed a bitter pill to swallow. So that was a great description.
Commissioner Bell, can I add one thing? Oh, yeah. Sorry, did Rachel? Oh, I just wanted to remind people, because you just said, like you said, the money's been distributed. Just remind folks, we get 12 cents of every dollar. The county only retains 12 cents for every dollar. So all the other money has gone out to fire districts and good causes like the school district. But we're forced to come up with this money, and we got 12 cents per dollar as a county.
Right. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, I was just going to add, if the public's wondering how we're going to pay the $950,000, that'll be discussed during the budget hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Raise the motion.
Okay. Madam Chair, in consideration of a settlement agreement to resolve tax foreclosure litigation against Tillamook County following the U.S. Supreme Court case Tyler v. Hennepin County, I move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I wonder how much we can get for that old tractor.
Yeah. Those feel like very qualified ayes, but we have to do it. So motion passes. All right. Moving on to item 16, consideration of a professional services agreement with CDR Labor Law for labor and employment law attorney services. Rachel Haggerty, Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you. Our agreement with our labor attorney, Peck Rubinoff, expired or ended at the end of bargaining last year. County staff solicited a request for proposals to hire a new labor attorney, and we have since selected CDR Labor Law to provide those services. We have worked with them intermittently on various issues across departments over the last several years, and we've been very pleased with their service and response time and knowledge. So we're really excited to be in working with them on a more regular basis. So today before you is a professional services agreement that does not have a ceiling, but instead includes the hourly rates for various services and is a one-year agreement. Ready for your consideration.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier?
I don't have any questions.
No questions. It is another one of the things that we simply have to do. When you look at the costs to the county, our employees and supporting and managing our employees is the top of that list. And unfortunately, in today's world, you don't do that without a labor attorney, and you absolutely don't do it without a labor attorney when you have 3 unions that you work with. So it is another one of our necessary pieces to do business. So
Agreed. All right, I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a professional services agreement with CDR Labor Law for labor and employment law attorney services, I move approval.
A second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, I wasn't sure if it was best here or when we move to the hearings, whichever you would like to do, Madam Chair, but yes, please.
Okay, so we have a number of financial items coming up on the budget. We want to take a 5-minute break. Would you like to do 17 now or when we come back?
When we come back, it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's recess this meeting for 5 minutes. Come back at 11:01. Thank you.
Oh, 10:15 minutes, in which case we can do
I
that.
need new glasses. 10:51. Thank you. Okay, we're back and we're reconvening this meeting at 10:52 a.m. Moving on to item 17, which is consideration of an order in the matter of adopting fiscal year 2026, 2027 financial strategies and guidance. And with us, we have Deb Jacob, the Director of Financial Services and Treasurer.
Good morning. Thank
Morning.
you. So this is something that we started last year, adopting financial strategies for each fiscal year, and this one's to cover the 2026, 2027 fiscal year. Underneath of it are several categories listing our priorities, our financial strategies and guidance. The first is county leaders are expected to take comprehensive and proactive approach to ensure the overall health of the county budget and operations. Next is the county will maintain a fiscally conservative approach in all financial and operational practices to the greatest extent possible. The county will pursue and implement technological advancements that improve efficiency and effectiveness in service delivery. And all county departments shall obtain prior approval from the Board of Commissioners for any increase in spending authority in the department's overall adopted budget. Additionally, any transfer of greater than 10% between the major expenditure categories, which are personnel services, materials and services, and capital outlay within a department's overall budget, also requires prior approval from the Board of Commissioners. In circumstances requiring expenditures reductions, the county will give due consideration to all options, with personnel retention being the priority. Next, vacant positions will be evaluated and refilled in a strategic and timely manner consistent with organizational priorities and fiscal capacity in accordance with the county's recruitment process framework if developed. The Director of Financial Services and Chief Administrative Officer will maintain regular communication with the Budget Committee, leadership team, employees, and union representatives regarding county financial matters. Monthly financial reports will be presented and quarterly work sessions will be convened. Next, implement the recently adopted financial policy, including the provisions governing the use of reserves and the funding and replenishment requirements for designated accounts in the general fund, revenue stabilization fund, and building improvement funds. And this again is to cover the fiscal year 2026, 2027, beginning July 1, 2026 and ending June 30, 2027.
Thank you. Any comments?
Do you ever feel like you're like, I think I'm talked out, right?
Yeah.
No, I think this is great that we're doing this every year. I appreciate you bringing it forward. This is reflective of the many conversations we've had at the Budget Committee.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier?
I agree. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of great work. I appreciate everybody's effort on doing this. I think it's great that we're doing it.
As do I. Thank you. Thank you, Deb, for your work on this and that of your team.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Chair, in consideration of order number 26-035 in the matter of adopting fiscal year 26-27 financial strategies and guidance, I move approval.
I second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Okay, now we will move into a public hearing concerning adopting the budget, appropriating funds, imposing ad valorem taxes, and categorizing taxes for the 4-H and Extension Service District for fiscal year 2026-2027. Deb.
Thank you. So this is the budget for the Tillamook County 4-H and Extension Service District. It is a service district operated in partnership with Oregon State University that delivers 4-H youth programs and extension education to our communities. The district maintains a general fund for operations and a building reserve fund for its facilities. The Budget Committee approves the 26-27 budget on May 28th. The budget before you totals $1,948,610 across all funds. Of that, $797,282 is appropriated, the general fund at $697,282, and the building reserve fund at $100,000. The balance remaining is unappropriated ending fund balance, which by definition is not appropriated. The budget also imposes the district's permanent operating tax rate of 6.9 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. This rate is within the rate approved by the Budget Committee and no other taxes are imposed within it. There are no changes proposed to the budget and I recommend its adoption as approved by Budget Committee.
Thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. The public hearing is open. Do we have anyone who would like to give testimony on this item? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 10:57 a.m. and entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of an order number 26-036 and 4-H and Extension Service Order number 26-001 in the matter of adopting the budget, approving funds, imposing ad valorem taxes, and categorizing taxes for the 4-H and Extension Service District for fiscal year 2026-2027, I move approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
I do want to thank Chrissy Dixon, who from the 4-H and Extension Service Office has been online with us today.
Good morning, Chrissy. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks.
Well, I feel kind of like she kind of let Deb carry it all, even in the last meeting. So I'm going to give Chrissy a little heck about that.
I don't present well in public. If I have to read something, it doesn't go well.
Well, thank you for the hard work you did on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job, Chrissy. Okay, let's move on to item 20, which is a public hearing concerning adopting the budget, appropriating funds, and categorizing taxes for the Solid Waste Service District for fiscal year 2026-2027. Deb Jacob.
Okay, so this is our other service district within the county budget. This is the budget of the Solid Waste Service District, the self-supporting fee-based district that operates the county's transfer stations, runs household hazardous waste and recycling programs, supports code enforcement, and monitors closed landfills. This district pays for itself through the fees customers pay to use its facilities. The Budget Committee approved the 2026-2027 budget on June 2nd. The budget before you totals $8,833,364 across all funds, with $7.6 million appropriated and the remainder held as unappropriated ending fund balance. Service levels and staffing hold steady, and the budget advances the Manzanita and Pacific City transfer station projects while protecting the district's reserves. The district is funded by a service charge rather than a property tax. The budget levies the solid waste service charge in the aggregate amount of $254,796, categorized as subject to the general county government limitation under Section 11B. I have no changes to propose for this budget and recommend its adoption as approved by the Budget Committee.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Do we have any public comment on the Solid Waste Service District budget? Hearing none, I will close this public hearing at 11 a.m. and entertain a motion.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
before the motion, could you state the item in the,
Sorry,
yeah.
we didn't do that last
It's
time.
okay. Just read agenda item number 21. It's a bit of a duplication, but a formality.
Consideration of an order in the matter of adopting the budget, appropriating funds, and categorizing taxes for the Solid Waste Service District for fiscal year 2026, 2027.
Can I say so moved or do I? Okay, so moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. All right, thank you. Now we are moving on to a public hearing concerning adopting the budget, appropriating funds, levying, and categorizing ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2026, 2027. Deb.
Thank you. So this is the budget of the Tillamook County government that everyday services residents, businesses, and visitors rely on, delivered by about 289 employees across more than 20 departments. Its funds public safety and justice, the sheriff's patrol, the jail, marine, search and rescue, the district attorney, juvenile services, and the courts. Health and human services, including our community health center, dental, public health, behavioral health, and pharmacy. Roads and bridges, countywide library system, parks, campgrounds, and boat ramps. The voter-approved emergency radio system for first responders and general government, mental health, and community development and veteran services. The Tillamook County Budget Committee approved the 26-27 budget on May 13th and June 16th in the sum of $188,841,161. The general fund was approved at an appropriation of $30,063,509 as required by local budget law. I am presenting the budget exactly as Budget Committee approved it in this first round. I would also like to, I was asked to talk about a little bit on the treasurer's budget. We did have an increase in appropriations, as you see in Exhibit A on the proposed budget. This is mainly due to $135,000 in a one-time request for a financial plan through a third-party contractor, as well as a budget process improvement so that we can more clearly walk through our budget process for public transparency and board and departmental clarity.
Thank you.
Yes.
And do you want to, so that's your overview. Do you want to talk about proposed changes at this point?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that was as approved by the Budget Committee. The next, as we know, we heard this morning, between the budget summary, public noticing deadline, and today, a couple of items have come up that require board consideration for approved budget amendment. The principal item is the legal settlement of $949,727, resolving litigation over tax foreclosed sale proceeds. Of that, I am proposing $786,842 is paid from the general fund, with the remaining $162,000 being paid from land sale fund that is not appropriated through this budget. The general fund share is funded through $393,421 transfer from the TLT facilities fund and a $140,000 draw on the ending fund balance of the general fund. The balance between those is offset through departmental reductions and reprioritization of one-time requests. Additionally, I'm proposing 2 district attorney reductions to the budget, $22,300 stipend reduction and $3,000 in insurance and deductibles reduction, which is reflecting the board's June 10th briefing and this morning's discussion. The net effect raises the general fund appropriation by $533,542 to $30,597,051 appropriated. In the other funds, the TLT facilities reallocation nets to zero and the Health and Human Services Fund falls $50,000 with appropriations in both unchanged. These amendments comply with ORS 294.456. No funds estimated expenditure increased by more than the greater of $5,000 or 10%, and no tax levy or rate changes were considered within. With these amendments, the budget totals $189,184,582 as reflected in Exhibit A and the schedule of board amendments, attachment 1 in the agenda packet. And that covers the proposed changes.
Thank
Have
you.
any questions? Yes.
Just in case anybody's wondering, will you explain the use of TLT facilities funds to pay for our new legal expense?
Yeah. House Bill 4148 that reallocated the distribution of TLT funds covered that at the time of the passage, 50% of the funds on hand became available for general fund use. Now with ours, 30% of that goes to roads, as we know. That 20% remaining was on hand and was able to cover that $393,421.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, just a point of clarification on the budget amendment regarding the professional liability insurance. And so based on last week's board briefing and your interest in not providing that for the district attorney, again, just to confirm, it's just for the district attorney. Because as I understand, there's similar insurance for the deputy district attorneys. And so as I understand it, that the board is like not interested in providing professional liability insurance for District Attorney Aubrey Olson, but that does not include the deputy district attorneys that work under her. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
That's my understanding as well. They are county employees, and we are responsible for the decisions they make in a court of law, whether we like it or not, because she guides their decisions. We are not legally responsible for her decisions in a court of law, and she can choose if she wants to cover her own liability.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else to present, Deb?
That is all.
Okay, all right. Well, this is a public hearing, so we will open the public hearing at 11:07 in order to take public comment on this budget.
Mr. Bell, may I make a comment?
You may.
I didn't sign up. I can't sign up. Good morning. Since someone's here to say so, I just want to specify that I am in favor of the commissioners removing the stipend for the district attorney and for the liability assurance of the district attorney. Thank you for taking that step. It's very important at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comments? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 11:06 a.m. And we will consider an order in the matter of adopting the budget, appropriating funds, levying and categorizing ad valorem taxes.
I believe we have to vote on the amendments first before we adopt the. Oh, and 23B. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go on.
Okay. That's okay. Categorizing ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2026, 2027.
We've never done this before, so we're working through how best to present the proposed amendment. So you've read the agenda item into the record. The next item to consider is what's listed as A. So there's a bit of a nuance here. There's a vote within a vote.
Okay.
So if you could read consideration of the proposed change to the approved fiscal year into the record.
We will consider A, consideration of the proposed changes to the approved fiscal year for board deliberation.
To the approved fiscal year period. And then now is your time to deliberate on the changes that Deborah has presented that have occurred since the approved budget
Thank you.
of the budget committee.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is layered. This is
Yeah.
layered. I am in support of the changes that, that the budget committee approved. I think we talked about it in some depth with the budget committee as we made these changes. The additional expense that showed up as the need to pay for properties that we sold the money to be returned. We did some work to reduce costs to be offset that. And I think that is part of, a big part of what is reflected here and obviously in support of that.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier?
I concur. I am supportive of the budget committee's decision. Also, I want to thank Deborah's work on that, and also the department heads that understood when we had to pull some of those first one-time requests back. I heard most folks once they understood why we had to do it, it wasn't it was kind of out of our hands, and we just needed to find that. So I appreciated all the departments coming, understanding that we had to resort to that in order to take care of this.
Thank you, as do I. All right. So then I will entertain a motion to adopt, or would you care to make the motion?
So this
It's a
is,
confusing process.
yeah, under board deliberation amendments, you're going to read what's listed under A, move approval.
I move approval of the proposed changes to the approved budget.
A second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
Then if I may assist further.
Please.
We are still under agenda item 3, which you've read into the record. So your next motion is listed under 5, motion to adopt the order.
So I can go ahead and make that motion because we've already read the item in.
Yep.
Okay. And there was an action that occurred where the adopted amendments on attachment were,
Yeah, so you needed to approve the proposed amendments and then the actual budget.
okay. So now I would move to adopt order number 26038, adopting the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget as approved by the budget committee and as amended per attachment 1 in the aggregate sum of
189 million.
189 million.
We're going to 184,000.
184,000.
582.
$582.
I second. Sorry, I got lost in the numbers.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
That was complicated.
It was very
You did.
complicated. Thank you for
So thank you
just
for
wanna-
walking through it. It was complicated for reasons beyond what we could control that occurred between the budget committee work and this work that we're doing today.
And I want to thank Commissioner Bell for being the best vice chair ever and handling all that. for me.
And what a day to be out
Because it
of.
would have been worse if I was there, and you all know it. so.
Thank you. Rachel?
I would like to extend a great thanks to Deborah. She has jumped in feet first to this with little prep. This is her first budget year. We had a lot of extra hurdles that we were tackling and some nuances, and she's just done an exemplary job of leading the process, working with department heads, guiding us all through some decision-making and thinking about the budget differently and presenting materials in different ways that just help with the transparency and understanding of the budget. So excellent job this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. Bravo.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we will move on to item 24, consideration of the adoption of the following Tillamook County pay tables. Mackenzie Weir, Human Resources Manager. Thank you, Deb.
And Commissioner Bell, if you could read all of these into the record as part of the agenda items, and then we won't read them again.
Okay. For fiscal year 2025-2026, effective January 1, 2026 for non-represented employees. For fiscal year 2026-2027, effective July 1st, 2026 for part-time employees. For fiscal year 2026-2027, effective January 1st, 2026 for AFSCME employees. For fiscal year 2026-2027, effective July 1st, 2026 for Teamsters employees. For fiscal year 2026-2027, effective July 1st, 2026 for Justice Facility employees. For fiscal year 2026-2027, effective July 1st, 2026 for health provider employees. For fiscal year 2026-2027, effective July 1st, 2026 for non-represented and executive service employees. For fiscal year 2026-2027, effective July 1st, 2026 for elected officials.
Thank you.
Mackenzie.
Thank you. I'm going to take the first one first. It's a little separate as you see the effective date of January 1, 2026. There was a job classification that should have been in a higher range. So we are making that effective retroactively to January 1, and we'll pay that employee the retroactive wages in correspondence with that. So that is to align with work of comparable character and get them where they should be. So that is why that pay table is outlined separately.
Okay.
And then for July 1 pay tables, so under Article 7.1 of the respective collective bargaining agreements, employees represented by Teamsters and Teamsters Sergeant bargaining units are scheduled to receive a 3% COLA effective July 1, 2026. Consistent with historical practice, the Justice Facility pay table follows the Teamsters wage schedule and is therefore also receiving a 3% COLA. Under Article 6.1 of the AFSCME collective bargaining agreement, AFSCME represented employees are scheduled to receive a COLA based on the annual change in the West Region Consumer Price Index, CPI, with a minimum adjustment of 2% and a maximum adjustment of 4% for the period of January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. The CPI increased by 2.9%. Accordingly, AFSCME represented employees are scheduled to receive a 2.9% COLA effective January 1, 2026. Consistent with past practice, all remaining county pay tables that follow the AFSCME wage schedule are also proposed to receive a 2.9% COLA. Before you are the 8 additional pay tables reflecting those annual COLA adjustments for consideration and approval.
Thank you. Nothing to add. Okay. Commissioner Fournier. Oh, you're muted.
I have no questions or comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott.
No, this is just the annual piece we do to stay current with our agreements.
Right. Thank you, Mackenzie. I have no questions either.
This was published with the stipend.
Oh, thank you for that reminder. There was no vote of the board to remove the stipend for the DA. So posted with the agenda is the elected official pay table that includes the district attorney's stipend. So in your vote, when you vote to approve the elected officials pay table, approve it without the stipend. Include that in your motion.
Okay. Do we also need to include the payment for liability insurance?
That's not part of the pay table.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So you've approved it in the budget to remove it. Now you need to remove it from the pay table that's been posted.
Okay.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So can we take these as a block, or do we have to
We do the elected one separate.
Correct. Yeah. Takes a slate A through.
There are no A's, they're
Oh,
bullet.
sorry.
So if we did consideration of the adoption of the listed Tillamook County pay tables, except for the elected officials, I move approval.
And I second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. And
In consideration of the adoption of the elected officials pay table, I move to approve with the removal of the district attorney's stipend.
I would second that.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank
Hard
you,
to
Mackenzie.
language on the fly.
Yeah.
Your brain just stops for a minute and goes, huh.
Okay. Well, commissioners, we are at board concerns. Commissioner Scar?
There's nothing left for me today. Sorry.
Commissioner Fournier?
I'm about to get kicked out of this room, so I'm done. They're literally knocking at the door.
That's funny. Okay, well, I just want to say thanks again to everyone who submitted public comments for our meeting today, including the public comments we received in writing. All of the public comments were instrumental, were certainly helpful to our decision. So thank
Absolutely.
you to everyone who shared their comments.
Commissioner Bill, I do have one thing I'd like to say. I just want to thank Mrs. Bailey for being in. She stayed this whole meeting and provided some great public comment and holds us accountable. But I appreciate this is a long meeting and I appreciate her. I can't see who else is in the room. I can only see her. So whoever else stayed for this whole meeting, I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, I will refer you to other meetings and announcements on the website. And this meeting is adjourned at 11:20 a.m. Thank you, everyone.
Have fun, Paul.